A beautiful day to you all, our amazing viewers. Why are billions of naira meant for public spending being allocated to projects like palaces, community halls, and mosques? Why many Nigerians continue to grapple with insecurity, poor roads, struggling hospitals, and overcrowded schools? That question is now dominating public debate after details from the 2026 federal government budget revealed that hundreds of billions of naira have been earmarked for projects that critics say fall outside the core responsibility of many government agencies. The revelations have triggered fresh concerns about national priorities, budget discipline, and public accountability. The Punch reports that findings from the 2026 federal government budget show that about 78 ministries, departments, and agencies MDAs collectively allocated nearly 400 billion naira for the construction and rehabilitation of community halls, mosques, traditional rulers' palaces, village market squares, and civic centers. According to the report, more than half of that amount was also earmarked for projects such as grain distribution, motorcycles, tricycles, community empowerment schemes, museums, and mini stadiums, raising questions about whether such expenditures represent the country's most urgent priorities. Analysts argue that many of these projects have little connection to the statutory responsibilities of the agencies expected to execute them. They believe public institutions established for research, defense, education, and industrial development should focus primarily on delivering services directly linked to their legal mandate rather than undertaking projects that are traditionally handled by state governments, local governments, or community organizations. One of the examples highlighted involved the National Building and Road Research Institute, which reportedly include projects such as village halls in Anambra State and international markets in Jigawa State, several traditional rulers' palaces in Rivers and Kogi states, market stores in Borno, a multipurpose hall in Kaduna, and the refurbishment of mosques around Kebbi, Ekiti, and Jigawa states. According to the reports, these projects alone account for more than 4 billion naira, despite the institute's primary responsibility relating to building and road research. The reports also identified unusual budget items under the National Productivity Center, including support for Ijaw musicians, the construction of an Emirs Palace in Yobe State, palace projects in Ogun State, an econometrics laboratory in Ekiti State, and the construction of an abattoir in Gobe State. These allocations have generated criticism because many observers believe they have little direct relationship with the agency's statutory objective of promoting national productivity. Another example cited in the report involves the National Mathematical Center, Nigeria's leading institution for mathematical research and training. According to the budget, the center is expected to finance the construction of a sociology department building at Ahmadu Bello University, a project many experts argue falls outside the institution's academic and research mandates. Several economists say the growing number of unrelated projects in federal agencies' budgets weakens fiscal discipline and reduces the amount of money available for sectors with greater national impacts. They argue that resources could instead be directed towards healthcare, education, electricity, roads, agriculture, security, and other infrastructure capable of improving economic growth and public welfare on a much larger scale. Consultant economist and former central banker Chukwunonso Ihuma blamed the National Assembly for much of the problem. According to him, lawmakers frequently increase the budgets submitted by government agencies before inserting projects that have little developmental value. He argued that this practice contributes to budget padding and undermines effective public financial management. Ihuma also called for a return to zero-based budgeting, a system in which every proposed expenditure must be justified from the beginning rather than carried over from previous budgets. He argued that the Director General of the Budget Office should have the authority to reject projects that have no clear national value or that falls outside the responsibilities of the agencies expected to implement them. The debate comes as Nigeria continues implementing aspects of its 2025 budget even after the approval of the 2026 Appropriation Act. President Bola Tinubu signed the 68.32 trillion naira 2026 budget into law earlier this year, while also approving an extension of the implementation period for parts of the previous budget. The Senate later approved another extension for the capital component of the 2025 budget to allow ongoing projects to continue. Economic experts have also questioned several assumptions contained in the 2026 budget, including projected revenue, oil production targets, and overall financing plans. They warn that unrealistic projections could widen the budget deficits, increase borrowing requirements, and place additional pressure on public finances if expected revenues fail to materialize. The Nigerian Institute of Social and Economic Research has called for stronger fiscal coordination, improved revenue mobilization, and broader structural reforms to address inflation, exchange rate volatility, and social inequality. Meanwhile, the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise noted that the end of the government's reliance on central bank ways and means financing has created additional pressure on public finances, making efficient budgeting even more important. Former presidential advisor Umar Sani also observed that not every budget inserted into the budget is eventually implemented. According to him, previous administrations have rejected budgets containing items considered unnecessarily or inconsistent with national priorities. His remarks suggest that the debate over budget quality has existed across multiple administrations and remains an important issue in Nigeria's public finance system. As discussions over the 2026 budget continue, many Nigerians are asking whether scarce public funds should be concentrated on projects with immediate nationwide impact or spread across numerous smaller communities' initiatives. Supporters argue that local projects bring development closer to the people, while critics believe they dilute national priorities and reduce the government's ability to deliver transformational infrastructure. The coming months will determine how many of these projects eventually receive funding and whether lawmakers or the executive introduce further reforms to strengthen transparency and accountability in the federal budgeting process. Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you find this report insightful, kindly like, share, and subscribe for more news reports. I'm Chidera Isom. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next report.